see so many parallels in what we're doing. And I'm wondering, and I also think, yes, everyone has their own dharma and their own burdens, but I also think there's something unique when you're bringing something revolutionary, and also when you're bringing something that's so multidimensional, and like knowing what it takes to refine that into a language that is accessible, like just that in itself is its own skill set that I think anyone who's teaching anything physical is wise to master. And then, you're translating things that no one else has done before. So I think it is unique. I just want to acknowledge that your path is unique. I definitely see you as a vanguard, as a visionary. I'm wondering what it was like for you when you were living in Los Angeles, where you have everyone who's chasing the fame thing and saying, look at me, for maybe the right reasons, maybe not so right reasons. And it's also the center of so much physicality and hot bodies and so much exercise. And like, what was that like for you to launch GST in LA?
That's a great question. I think in hindsight, I've lived now in Boulder for 2 years and done very small things with GST and just had to take a break, because I think that I was chasing the wrong people, right? Like Los Angeles has this amazing energy of creativity and drive and the see me, and it's kind of addictive, and you don't see it at the beginning. It's like, you're just trying to I'm authentically just trying to get it out there. And yet in hindsight, it's like most people who are into fitness for aesthetics alone are not even conscious that there's something more. They're not looking for it. They wouldn't even resonate, even if it hit them in the face. I think that it was a struggle and a lot of times, like, I thought that the entry point would be like, come and feel great. And then they would buy into the deeper stuff. And I was surprised that GST can produce all of these aesthetics in an even more holistic way. Like, I just wrote a blog the other day about toning and sculpting, and how with fascia it's very different than with muscular, traditional fitness methods. And I think that I was trying to have people you can get everything you want on this really superficial level, but do it from deep. Like, if you start deep, then all of these are cumulative as well. And that is not the method of LA, right? The method of LA is it's only skin deep, and it's only what you see. And it's not that beauty comes from multidimensional places. And fascia does. Like, your aesthetics of your face are greatly dependent upon the deep tissues in your lungs. Right? Like, that's a structural fact. And so go ahead and do all your facial stuff. But if you're not, addressing the source, and this comes back to some of these spiritual lessons where it's like source versus symptom. And LA for me was very symptom. And I could never bridge the gap of okay, you want me to lift your ass? Totally done, doable, done. I can do that. But you're going to require that you go in and feel some shit that you don't want to feel. And you're going to have to be okay, taking a little bit of a circumnavigated, what feels like, it's not even actually circumnavigated, it's more direct, right? Ironically, it's more direct to change your body that way, but it's not what we're trained to. And so and I don't know if it's just LA, I think humans, so there's this lesson in healing that they talk about that I think applies to all humans. And it says that it's not by how deep you go in your journey of reconstruction of self, it's how fast. And that the human mind, that's damaging. So when you try to change someone's mentality or someone's body or someone's, self-concept too fast, it's damaging, because the human mind needs time to absorb, digest, rearrange, restructure. And it's why evolution takes so long. It's why the human, process is millennia old and will go on for eternity. But that's one of the things you're up against when you have a new concept to share with people, is that humans' minds are not as flexible as what we'd like it to be. And that's one of the reasons I like GST, because we make your body flexible and then your mind is sure to follow, right? They are reflexive of each other. So I was going to say, I'm also ADD, so I'm going to swing back and say, in LA, I think that more people's minds are not bent towards deeper, dynamic, geometrical, three-dimensional thinking. It's very much like one-dimensional thinking. And that's really hard to sell. Like, they would feel the difference, but they would have no context. They would come in and be like, that felt so good. It was really hard, but I'm not exhausted. I'm not tight. I'm not sweating, and so I don't know, in my head, a workout is, I'm exhausted, it hurts, but I at least know I did something. And you're like, okay, I don't know how to reframe your brain towards being like, actually, what if you could get everything you wanted and you feel elated because we work endorphins, not adrenaline? What if you could actually get the lift and the healthy tissue and the wrinkless face, but it required that you actually be quiet and calm and not manic and abusive, right? It's this paradigm shift of reality. And I think that it's probably all humans, but this is the power, I would say, if I were to circle back to the benefits of, or kind of the seed of what GST was, is that pain, right? We spend all of our lives trying to avoid pain. And generic pain is not just physical, it's emotional, it's psychological, and it's spiritual. Separation from divine, disassociation from people, disassociation from self, external obsession versus internal reflection. And that pain, whatever it is, we try to, and we're trained to stay external to it and not feel it because pain is bad. Even in rehab, I went through Pilates, and if I felt pain, they'd be like, okay, let's not do that. And I'm like,
hey, superstars, I'm just weighing in to remind you and to thank you for clicking the subscribe button, clicking the like button. Be sure to comment so as to trick the algorithm into giving me more impact, more exposure, so that more awesome human beings can learn from my work. I'm also reminding you to hit that little bell so that you get notified every time I post a new video. Thanks, tribe.
and I'm like, no, you're missing the entire opportunity. Once I got what Fascia was doing, and that pain is actually positive communication, carrying tons of information that will literally within 30 seconds eliminate, if you do these things, like it's like a temporary discomfort. And you get better and better at being with the discomfort of your body, the discomfort of your emotions, the discomfort of your soul. And then all of a sudden you start hungering to seek the discomfort to eliminate it. And then what lives underneath is the wholeness that you are desperately seeking. It's the completeness. It's the, the foundness that we want. And so I feel like that was something that LA wasn't I don't know, maybe I was just, so interested in, that's my spiritual journey back around, is that it started with the body. And now I'm really interested in what GST does for the soul. And that's the complete story. That's the complete narrative. That you start with something so elemental and learn your pain to move it here. And then you'll learn how to move it here and here and here. And it's kind of, I don't know, that's the complete story. So being in LA, I just went after the wrong market. I think that I was trying to match, and it was to a mind that wasn't ready, that wasn't, totally driven to that. Even their spiritual practices in LA are really interesting, like the different religions. And I don't have to go into that. You ask me questions, but I find it fascinating because they are still drawn towards self. In most religions, true religious experience tries to understand self so you can eliminate it. And then you're more connected to everything else. And if you look at a lot of the spiritual things, even if I wasn't going after them, they're like self-determination and laws of attraction. And you bring to you what you think. And it's like, the whole goal here is to deal with our pain so we can get out of our way and be of service to others. Like that's kind of this like global cosmic thing. And so if you keep thinking it's all about how am I going to get myself here and myself, right? So even spiritually, I don't know that LA was ready for the message that, could have been here with what you do and what GST is doing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's frustrating being so far out ahead, like from the future, and waiting for humanity to catch up. Like, come on, guys, we have really wonderful things to share with you.
So much things. And this is what I bounce back and forth with Danny, is that, are they not ready, or are we having a hard time getting to them? And that's what frustrates me, is because when I don't know if you find this, but I find that when someone experiences GST, the light goes on and they're like, oh, of course there's a difference. if I try to talk it to you, and if I try to explain it to you, it's all theoretical. But as soon as you put it into the body and into experience, you're like, aha. And I think the same thing is with you, and that's the bridge of frustration, where it's like, once someone gets GST, it's not that far in advance.
Right.
They're hungering for it. They're looking for it. They don't know that it exists. And so my spiritual journey has been like, how can I take away anything that would stand in the way? How can I remove anything that would keep them? Or a better yet is, how can I actively pursue to give them this experience so that there is a landing thing? And I think that maybe it's true with both what you do and what I do is, and it's not by chance, it's not just what we do. Humans need experience to transform ideology into applicable life transformation. So you can sit with an idea all you want, but it doesn't come across. Like you worked with me a little bit to try to write my book, right? And I share this with you because in the process of writing a book is very apropos to how life works, where I write things constantly in my brain and I know the words and I'll even write it a little bit on paper. And it's like, but the creative versus the craft is really different. And the craft is the process of actually assembling and making something concrete of something ideological or esoteric. And that's a lot of that people, I think, in their journeys don't realize, is that they think they're doing the change inside just by having the thought, just by liking your concept, just by understanding. But experience is the number one ingredient that life requires for growth and transformation. Pain and experiential, like you have to do something different to be something different. It's not enough to know it. You have to physically do something in this form.
Totally.
Right? And so maybe there are people, also that to say is I think there are people out there who desperately want to do your work, to do GST. And that's, that's the hardship of the sage, right? That's what is we're working up here to make this accessible. And the work of them is to get to a place where they can recognize it when they see it.